Hillside Power Sport Repair, where this morning we work on a starter for a V-twin Briggs. This particular machine has had its fair share of issues over the years, but today it's a starter issue. Now we knew it wouldn't start. We knew it had some issues. So, let's start by doing a couple tests. Make sure it's charging, and then start pulling the shroud off and getting in there and getting to this particular piece of machinery. Yep. Any minute now. There we go. See, 8mm headed fuel pump fasteners, 10mm headed shroud fasteners. Should be 2 8mm down by the air filter. And the little screen there's got 8mm headed fasteners that screw into the plastics. Be careful when they're going back in. And yeah, getting down in there. If I remember at the starter drive had some issues. We're in there with the power probe trying to make sure that everything is going to work. I'm trying to decide what to do next. Now it turns out that the starter drive itself, that little gear that's on top of there, was having some pretty severe issues. So we're just kind of tapping on some stuff, making sure that, see if we can get stuff to go back down where it belongs. Let's see if we can kind of get stuff situated. And while that's secured, we're going to tap on it some, kind of see if we can get that circlip and all the associated parts moving a little bit, maybe something stuck. Just see if there's some way we can get this going cheaply, efficiently, quickly for our customer. I will tell you right now, there was not a good way to do that. So after sitting and piddling and tapping and yelling at this cat that's trying to help me do voiceover work this morning, we ended up, we're going to have to pull the thing. We were able to make it work, but in order to get the drive to release and drive like it's supposed to on the Bendix, someone would basically have to sit there with a screwdriver, and that's not what I get paid for by my customers. So we're going to see if we can fix this gear that is on top of it. Now I believe that's like a T40. Those bolts have a T40 inside of the head of them. So one of the bolts is a little buggered up. We did tap that in there, but it comes out pretty good. Let's get set up here on my favorite, always crowded little table. And we're going to take some stuff apart and have a look at the drive real quick. Make sure that everything's okay on the bottom end. Don't really know the history of this particular starter, so it seems like a good time to go ahead and check it out. Oddly enough, everything looked pretty good, so we're going to try and pull the Bendix apart now. And it was in there. I mean, in there. The circlip that goes around that shaft was stuck. Big time stuck. Lots of stuck. All the stuck. I do think I managed to only stab myself once doing this that drew blood. The rest of the times didn't draw blood. But I did manage to do that. I was pretty proud of myself. And yeah, getting that out is a son of a gun, but it is possible. It's like anything else, the more you do it, the better you get at it. It just looks like the gear had some almost flashing from where it was cast. It was just kind of nasty. So we cleaned it up real quick and just kind of stuck everything back together. It looked pretty decent. It was a little bit sloppy on there, but I thought, hell, let's give her a whirl. It ain't costing us nothing. So, put just a smidge of my favorite high temp synthetic brake grease on it and move on about our lives. I will tell you right now that pretty much every time that I try to do something like this to save my customer a little bit of money, backfires on me. Like taking the brushes out, or taking the motor apart to check the brushes and bearings to make sure that my customer was going to be okay down the road instead of just replacing the unit. That was a mistake. Shouldn't have done that. Almost every time. But move on about our lives and we get these brushes put back in. And it's not a huge deal. I used a pick, a screwdriver, and some finish nails, which just happened to be laying around. So you can see it's relatively tedious stuff. We're just kind of walking them brushes in as the comb or the shaft gets pushed down in there. We're just kind of walking brushes in just a little bit at a time. No big deal. Plate down and go reinstall this starter. Not a big deal. I always start with the that inside-ish bolt. It's a little harder to get to, and then put the other one in. Make sure they're good and tight by using a wrench on the end of that T-handle. Real careful, put the connector back on. Try not to twist the power lug off. And in theory, everything works. In theory, everything. Let me say that again. In theory, everything works. The problem with in theory is that it oftentimes doesn't work. And when it doesn't work, your mechanic is the one who gets to go back over that. So we're taking the starter back off at this point because it didn't work, and that's okay. And I went to the store and picked up a new starter gear. At some point in time in here, I magically launched that circlip into oblivion. To this day, have no clue where it went. Have cleaned out the shop since then, ran a magnet over everything for bolts and stuff, still don't know where it is. But apart she comes, and then back together she goes. Actually was pretty pleased. This new gear is a Stearns, and it fit really good. Now somewhere in here, I'm looking for the circlip. I'm opening the door, which as you can see produces a massive amount of super bright light that I can't figure out where it is. But I did manage to make a new one out of some spring steel. That should be coming into frame relatively soon. Any minute now. Do you ever notice when you're editing time-lapse videos that sometimes the you that is in the time-lapse doesn't work at the same pace as the you that is in your brain thinking what he should do? Yeah. Anyways, take this little piece of spring steel, I cut it down, I stick it in there, and it actually fits probably better than the factory one. And we come back here, new gear, stick everything back together. Again, I think that's a T40, and that long-handled T40 is the way to go. That long shank on it is way better than using an extension. All right, seeing that everything had worked out, went ahead and started throwing the covers back on. I believe they were T10s on the side, not T10, 10 millimeter headed fasteners on the sides, 8 millimeter headed fastener for the fuel pump, 8 millimeter headed fastener for the grill over the fan assembly there, the shroud or whatever it is. And that's it, man. Put her back together and rock and roll. Would like to take this last approximately minute or so to thank everybody for watching. We've had a couple of shorts doing pretty well, and some of our videos have been doing pretty good, and getting real close to the magic monetization numbers for watch hours. So anything you can do to help with that is greatly appreciated. Also, I want to thank everyone who's been using our Amazon affiliate links. That is a big win for our family and our shop, and I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you guys for all of that. We surely do appreciate it. I hope you like these videos, and as I continue to get interesting things in, I will make a definite attempt to make sure that you see all of it. Thank you so much for watching. Y'all have a blessed day, weekend, whatever it is when you watch this. Take care.